everyone, it's me Terry of the Yarn Joy podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Tidbits. In today's Tuesday Tidbits, we are continuing the Crochet with Me, where you are crocheting a dinosaur. In fact, it is this dinosaur right here. It came from the Red Heart Amigurumi Each One Makes Two set of yarns. They used to come in these discs. That's fiberfill. They used to come in these discs. I don't know if they're available anymore, but they were in different colorways, and they had, this one came from Ollie's, as you can see, but they had the pattern. Well, there was a link to the pattern. The pattern is not on the label, but there was enough yarn to make two of them. And so I have several of these in different colorways. They were different projects. And so the one that I decided to crochet along and have this little crochet along with you is this one that makes these two dinosaurs. And I am making the one with the green one with the blue spots. Of course, you can use any yarn that you want to. You don't have to buy this particular kit. I don't call it a kit, but this yarn collection, you can use any yarn you want to. But anyway, this is part 3. I will link down below in the description box part 1 and part 2, so that way if you want to make this along with me and you haven't made the first two, you haven't watched the first 2 videos, then you can watch those and catch up and then watch this one. And I will link where you can get the pattern. The pattern comes from yarnspirations.com. I have it here printed off. Okay, and so that is what I'm going by. I have my pattern here laying here sitting off to the side. Okay, so in part 1 and part 2 we created the body. Okay, so this is where I'm at so far. And so today I'm going to make the tail, and I'm also going to start working on the feet, and you will have a little homework to do, okay? And then in the next video, we should be able to be at that point where we can make the head and the spikes and possibly even put the assembling it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with part 3 of this Crochet with Me series to make this cute little spotted dinosaur. So I have my hook, my crochet hook. I'm going to get my yarn. I wound up all my yarn into these balls, easier to work with that way. And let's go on and we will start making the tail. Okay, the tail will be crocheted onto your body, okay, the body that you create in part 1 and 2, so you need that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a slip knot onto my hook, attaching my yarn to it, okay, and then I'm going to take my body, and it says that you can attach your yarn with a slip stitch anywhere around this circle. Now for one thing though, okay, so we're going to have 16 single crochets in this round, so you want to attach it to one of the single crochets that you skipped, or if you want to, you can do it up at the top, but don't attach it into the corners, either here or right here, because it says you're going to end up with 16 stitches, and there's 8 stitches across the bottom. These are the ones that you skipped when you made the tail, and there's 8 stitches that was part of the chain that you chained to make the hole, and so it does not include these little openings on the sides. Okay, so when you attach your yarn, make sure you just attach it into one of the stitches. I would just go ahead and attach it maybe to the first stitch that you skipped in your when you were skipping the single crochets when you make the tail hole. Okay, so that's where I'm going to attach mine. It says to attach it with a slip stitch, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to be going under both loops of my stitch, not like front loop only or back loop only. You're just going to attach it under both strands with a slip stitch. Okay, so slip stitch. It's kind of hard holding my work underneath away from me underneath the camera. Okay, now it says to chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet in that same stitch that we joined. Okay, so there's our first single crochet. And I'm going to go ahead and put my marker in that first stitch that I made, the first single crochet. That chain 1, we're not going to count that as a stitch or anything. Okay, so we're going to end up with 16 stitches around, so I'm going to go ahead and do 8 across this bottom. Okay, I've already done 1, so I'm going to do 7 more, and then I'm going to turn my work and go around the top part of the hole, and I'm going to do 8 stitches up there as well, and that will give me 16. So I've already done 1, so going into the next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to do 8 across the top opening of that hole. Okay, going into that first chain. Okay, okay, so I did the first stitch, and you can see it looks to me like it's going to leave a hole. So what I can do, let me go ahead and take that stitch out. I'm altering this just a little bit here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of act like I'm trying to save my stitch there. Okay, so I'm going to try to, it's going to be acting like a single crochet 2 together. Make sure I didn't split my yarn. This yarn is a little bit splitty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook into this, into the side. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and also insert it into the first stitch of the top of that circle, and I'm going to do all that together, and I'm hoping that that's going to draw it up. Yeah, and see, now I'm going to just do a regular single crochet. See, that closed in that gap that would have been there if I would have skipped over the side of those stitches. Okay, so that was 1, because we didn't have to do 8 across here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we got 1 more stitch. This marker is where the first stitch was, and so I'm going to go ahead and kind of, well, actually ended up I'm going to be doing it in the side there, but I'm going to go ahead and get my 8th stitch there into the side. Okay, so that closed up the hole, so I'm glad I went ahead and did that single crochet 2 together right there to close up that hole. And then I guess when I went into the next stitch, I must have skipped one of the stitches. Anyway, I ended up where I did do this 8th stitch in the side, which is good. So really just go ahead and get 16 stitches, end up with 16 stitches around, okay? And you can, you can kind of combine stitches if you need to, if it's leaving a hole somewhere, just by doing like an invisible decrease or something to include those side gaps. But you want to end up with 16 stitches around. I just tucked the beginning tail where I joined. I'm just going to tuck that into the hole. Okay, now it is continuous rounds, so I'm not going to join. Yeah, it's continuous round, so I'm not going to join into the first stitch. Okay, now so for rounds 2 and 3, I am going to just keep going, and we're going to do 16 stitches around. And we're going to do that twice for round 2 and for round 3. We're still going to have 16 stitches. We're not going to do any decreases yet. So I'm going to take that stitch out, and remember where that first stitch was, is right there. And I'm going to do my first single crochet for round 2. And then I'm going to put that marker back into that space, or the stitch I just created, okay? And now I'm going to do, I already did 1. I need 16 stitches around. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15, and 16. Okay, so that was round 2. I'm going to do the same thing for round 3. Took my stitch marker out, and then keep going around. So I'm going to put a stitch in the first stitch and put my marker back. And then I'm going to go around one more time, still having 16 stitches. So I already did the first one, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so that was round 3. Round 4, we're going to do a decrease. It says to single crochet in the next 6 stitches and then do a decrease. It says single crochet 2 together, but remember I like to do an invisible decrease for these. So we're going to do single crochet in the next 6 stitches and then do the invisible decrease, and we're going to do that twice. So at the end we'll end up with 14 stitches. We're going to gradually taper down on the tail. Okay, so I moved my marker out to replace it with my first stitch of this round, and I'm going to put it back. So that was the first stitch. So counting on, stitch number 2 is the next one. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it says to do a decrease, okay? So I'm going to do the invisible decrease by going under the front loop of the next stitch, pivot my hook around and go under the front loop of the next stitch, and then do a regular single crochet. Okay, so there's my invisible decrease. Now I'm going to do that again. So 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, I should have 2 stitches left, which I do before going to the marker, so I'm going to make an invisible decrease in those 2 stitches, so under the front loops only of both stitches, and then do our single crochet, and that's a decrease. Okay, so now I have 14 stitches around, and we're ready for round number 5. Round number 5 is another decrease round. Okay, so now we're going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches and then do a decrease, and we're going to do that twice. We will end up with 12 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so I took my marker out so I can put my new stitch in. Ooh, I almost lost a stitch. Wait. Okay, so 5 stitches. We're going to do the first one, number 1, regular single crochet, put my marker back. Okay, and then keep going. So number 2 is the next one. 2, 3, 4, 5, and now a decrease, invisible decrease. Okay, and now 5 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? And then our final invisible decrease for this round. Okay, so now we have 12 stitches around. Okay, so now we can get some of our stuffing, and we can start filling in that tail. Okay, going on to round 6, we're going to do another decrease round. We're going to be going from 12 stitches around to 10 stitches around. So round 6, we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then do a decrease, and we're going to do that twice, and that will give us 10 stitches. So taking my marker out, replacing it with a single crochet, then put the marker back. So that's stitch number 1. 2, 3, 4, and then do a decrease, okay? And then we're going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and another decrease. Okay, so now we have 10 stitches around. Okay, so that was round 6. Round 7 is another decrease round. We're going to go from 10 stitches to 8 stitches. So I'm going to take my marker out. It says to single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then do an invisible decrease, and do that twice. So putting the first stitch in and put my marker back. So that was stitch number 1, 2, and 3. Now we have to do a decrease. It's getting more fiddly. Okay, there's the decrease. Now we got to do that again. So 3 stitches. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then our final decrease for this round. Ooh, now we have 8 stitches. Okay, and let's see, I want to put some more filling in. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and take my marker out. It's getting so small to put the marker in there. It's kind of getting in my way, so I think I'll leave my marker off now. And now I need to go ahead and stuff some more stuffing in there. You can use the end of your hook if you need to, or your little finger. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to round 8. This is the last round. We're going to do single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then do an invisible decrease, And we're going to do that 2 times. So we'll go from 8 stitches down to 6 stitches. Okay. One, 2, and then a decrease. Okay, and we're going to turn it, and we're going to do that one more time. 1, 2. Okay, so now we have 6 stitches across. Around. And so now we are going to fasten off, leaving a long tail, thread the tail through the stitches, and close up the opening. Okay, so not a really long tail. You're not going to sew onto anything. They just want you to leave, you know, a piece of a long tail so that you can do the fastening off. Okay, so I'm going to first I'm not going to bring it all the way out. I'm just going to bring it up bring my loop up a little bit so they can see. I think I want to try to add a little more stuffing in there, just at like the tip. Let's see if I can do that. I don't know if my hook is going to go down in that hole or not. Yeah, I got it. Okay. You can also insert your hook and push some of that stuffing into the tail, because we can we still have an opening at the top, so we can add more stuffing in from the top if we need to. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my hook back in, and I want to do 1 slip stitch. Is the way I like to fasten off. I want to do 1 slip stitch into the next stitch, just like that, a slip stitch, and then I'm just going to pull my yarn all the way through. Okay, now I'm going to get my yarn needle and thread it with my yarn tail, and then I'm going to go around, and I'm going to go under the the front loops only of the stitches all the way around. Okay, so this one I'm going to do from the outside going in, okay, like that. And then the next one I'm going to do the front loop only, but I'm going to go from the inside going out. I'm alternating which direction I'm taking my thread through. So the next one I'm going to do front loop only, but from the outside going in, okay. And the next one from the inside going out, front loop only, okay. And then probably one more time from the outside going in, front loop only, and then come back in the next stitch, front loop only, but from the inside going out. And now I can pull my yarn tail, and that will draw it up just like a drawstring, okay. And now I'm going to just hide my tail into the body, just like that. Come out somewhere on the body. You can always reshape the tail, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to cut my yarn thread close to the body. And if I have a little tiny tail sticking out, I can stick my yarn needle on there close to it, underneath, and just kind of wave it underneath it, and it will pull that yarn tail into the body. Okay, there is our cute little tail. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to set the body aside for the time being, and let's go ahead and start working on the feet. The head is actually next on the instruction sheet, but I'm going to save the head for the next video. So let's go ahead and find the legs. Okay, not feet. What do they call them? Feet, legs, whatever. Anyway, it's on the second page of your pattern if you printed it out. And it says legs. Make 4 for each dinosaur. And then it tells you what color to use depending on what dinosaur that you're using. Of course, you're just going to be using the main color, whatever color you've been using, okay? And it says to make an adjustable ring. So that's a magic circle. And if you know how to make a magic circle, you can do that. I believe I did demonstrate how to do that in one of my videos, the first one, I think. If you prefer to chain 2 and then work in the first chain, in the second chain from the hook and make that your ring, you can do that. That's perfectly fine to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the magic ring. So it's easier for me just to show you how to do it than to describe what I'm doing, I think, putting it in words. So anyway, here I go. So I'm using 2 fingers, laying my yarn here, holding it with my thumb, wrapping it under and over, make an X. Okay, use my other 2 fingers or my ring finger, holding that in place. I'm going to tilt it forward, go underneath the first strand and hook the second one and pull it back underneath the loop like that. And then I'm going to chain 1 to lock it into place. Take my fingers out. Okay, that's how I do a magic ring. And then I'm just going to hold it between my thumb and my other fingers there to hold it so that way this yarn tail stays going through that loop. And it says work 6 single crochets into the ring. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, take my tail. Ooh, I almost lost it there. Take the tail and pull it to draw up that ring. Okay. Okay. It says to place a marker in your stitch, and I mentioned before, you can either put the marker in your last stitch of the round if you want to count it that way. I always like to put my marker in the first stitch of the next round, but however you want to keep track is fine. Okay, but it's so little, I'm not going to put a marker in it quite yet. So round 2 says to work 2 single crochets in each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, so that means I'm going to be working into the first single crochet of that round. Put my hook under there, into that first one. The first one is always a little bit fiddly to do. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets into that stitch. So 1 and 2. Okay. So that was stitch number 1, stitch number 2. I'm going to now keep going. I'm doing 2 stitches in each one, and I'm going to be counting till I get up to 12, okay? So 2 in the next one. So this is stitch number 3, number 4, and number 4. And then stitch number 5 and number 6 goes in the next one. 5 and 6. And then 7 and 8 will go in the next stitch. 7 and 8. And then stitch number 9 and stitch number 10 will go into the next stitch. And last stitch, number 11 and number 12 will go into that one. 11 and 12. Okay, so now we have 12 stitches around. I'm going to go ahead and secure that tail from the magic ring so that way I can get it tightened up and it will stay tightened up and you won't have a hole there. So I'm going to pull my yarn out, my hook out, the loop out just a little bit so I don't lose my stitches. Get my yarn needle, turn it over so I'm working on the back side of my work. And I'm going to go ahead and thread my yarn needle with the tail, and then I'm going to pull it, and you can kind of turn it and pull it in different directions, and that helps to close up that hole. Okay, now turn it. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to run it underneath some of these stitches in the back side of the stitches. maybe a couple of times, you know, like one time going one direction and then turn it, and then one time going another direction. I don't have to go I'm not going through the whole, my work all the way through. I'm just picking up a few strands at the back. Okay. And now I took my yarn needle out. I'm going to go ahead and clip this, not real short, but just short enough where it'll be kind of be out of my way. Okay. Now, put my hook back in the loop, and now I'm going to start using my marker, I think. Okay, so now all we have to do is go on to rounds 3 and 4, and we're not going to do any more decreases. It's going to be 12 stitches around, and so we're going to do it twice. You can put your marker in there, and then, you know, do 12 and then move your marker. Or if you want to, sometimes I do it this way, where rounds 3 and 4, I know they both have 12 stitches around. So 12 plus 12 is 24. So since I'm doing continuous stitching, I'm not going to be joining each round. I can just do 24 single crochets, and that would make my 2 rounds, rounds 3 and rounds 4. So I think I'm going to do that and just take care of it that way. So going into the next stitch, that is stitch number 1, and I'm going to keep going until I count 24. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, halfway there. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There you go. Okay, so that was rounds 3 and 4. I want to go ahead and poke this out because it was turned the wrong way on me. Because you want the right side, the stitches that are facing you, that's the right side of your work. So you want to make that into a bowl shape. Okay. Okay, so that is one of the legs. So now it says weave in and trim beginning tail only. They're talking about the tail that I did with the magic ring, okay? Because you want to leave a long tail, because you're going to use that to sew the foot or the leg onto the body, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave a long tail for sewing. Okay, and I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch just to fasten off, just a slip stitch, and then I'm going to pull my thread all the way through. Okay, so there is my first foot. And so you're going to have some homework, because we need 4 of these feet or legs for our dinosaur. Okay, so I'm going to sign off for today and end part number 3 of this Crochet With Me dinosaur series. And for homework, make 3 more of these using the same instructions. It's just 4 rounds. It shouldn't take you just a few minutes or a little bit to make it. And then come back next week for Tuesday Tidbits, and we will make the head and the spikes. And so until then, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.